morning. Today we are going to do crisp oatmeal cookies. This is a demo for proper measuring to make sure you understand how to measure everything right and to teach you mise en place. So the first thing you should have done is washed your hands, taken off any jewelry and watches, and then you can get your mise en place ready. So the first thing that I need is a half cup of shortening. If you remember from reading chapter 13, shortening is one of the things that you can measure using the measurements on the edge of the wrapper. So shortening comes in a 1 cup measurement. So I need a half a cup. So I'm just going to cut it in half. And then I'm going to place it in my custard cup. In case you don't know, these are custard cups. These are what we use to measure all of our ingredients or put all of our ingredients that are small amounts into. And then I need a half cup of brown sugar. Brown sugar is the sugar that can be packed and actually should be packed. Please leave it in the bag. In the container, please do not pour it out of the bag. Otherwise, it's not closed properly, and then it gets hard very quickly, and then we have to start over and we waste ingredients. So a half cup of brown sugar, you take your half cup dry measuring cup, and you're going to scoop it in, and then without the fingers touching, you use the bag to pack it down. And then you use your leveler to level it off inside the bag. Now, if you've done this properly, when you dump it out, you will have a sandcastle type block. So I'm going to close this up, making sure it's nice and tight, and then making sure my lid goes on nice and tight as well. The next thing that I need is 1/2 cup granulated sugar. Granulated sugar is your regular sugar that you would find in your kitchen for cooking. It is not powdered sugar. Granulated sugar does not pack, so you can just scoop it, get all the chunks out of there. You can just scoop it up, and then you just level it off. Again, make sure your container is closed tightly so that the air doesn't get in there and make it hard and bad. And then I need to take and cream the shortenings and sugars until smooth. I'm going to use my large mixer, so I'm going to use my large mixing bowl. So my sugars are my regular sugar. Actually, wait, I'm going to do mise en place first. Sorry. So the other ingredient I'm going to need is an egg. Now, typically I would just crack the egg and then wash my hands. But since I do not have a sink up here, I'm going to crack the egg and then use my gloves and throw them away. In case you've never cracked an egg, you take it and you hit the side of the custard cup, put your thumbs in there, and then slowly open it up. You put it in a custard cup instead of right in the mixture so that you can check for blood spots or eggshells. And if I look at this, I have no blood spots and I have no eggshells. Now, egg white tends to get on the counter. Whether you think you spilled it or not, you guys would take your disinfectant spray and a paper toweling, and you would clean up the area where you cracked the egg right away so that there's no bacteria, so that you do not cross-contaminate any other food. I need 1 cup of flour. Flour can be packed or will be packed if you just scoop it. We do not want it packed. If you pack it, you get too much flour. And then your product is going to be hard and dry. And if you're making something like bread, it probably won't rise properly because it has too much flour in it. So you just take a spoon and you fill it to overflowing. Take your leveler and just kind of gently cut into it to make sure it's in there, and then you just level it off back into the container. Then take out all your measuring equipment so you don't leave it in there. Cover it tightly. I also need a ½ teaspoon of baking powder. Baking powder, says baking powder right on it. It needs a ½ teaspoon, so it's the small, one of the smaller ones. Baking powder has its own leveler right on it. So all you have to do is scoop it and then pull it and level it right there. Okay, and that's just going to go right in there. Now I know that my baking powder and baking soda can go together because I have looked at the recipe ahead of time, and I noticed that the two of them are going to be in the recipe at the same time. So I'm going to add my baking soda right to that. Your baking soda is in a little container like this. Usually it's labeled, but some of them have fallen off and I have not had a chance to get them back on there. So just take your lid off, take your ½ teaspoon, and you would just measure it by scooping it, and then again kind of taking and crunching up those chunks, and then just, oh, the chunks aren't gone, and then just level it off, making sure that you have a full teaspoon. I also need ½ teaspoon of salt. With your salt shakers, just take the lid off, take a custard cup, pour it over the custard cup or over a bowl, the sink, not your bowl. Whoop. And you're going to always probably pour too much, and that's okay. Then you're just going to level it off once again. And it can go with the baking soda and baking powder, because we know that the two of them, or the three of them, go in at the same time. Then I need a 3/4 cup of oatmeal. You need to know if your recipe calls for quick oats or old-fashioned oats. There is a difference. Quick oats are ready in a minute. Old-fashioned oats take 5 minutes. So in most recipes, they're going to call for quick oats. Your old-fashioned oats typically are used for when you're going to make oatmeal at home to eat for breakfast. So I need a 1/4 cup and a ½ cup, because that equals 3/4 cup. If your ½ cup was dirty, you could use 3 1/4 cups. But you need to use dry measuring cups. When you get vanilla or oatmeal, it doesn't level with a leveler really well, so you just kind of shake it off until it's even, and then you can put it off to the side. I also need a ½ cup of coconut. Now, those of you who think, oh yuck, I don't like coconut, you don't even taste the coconut in there. It's part of what helps make it crispy, but you will not taste the coconut. Now, you would take your measuring cup, and you want to make sure it's clean. I don't have any more ½ cups. So I'm going to use a 1/4 cup twice. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to pack it in there, and it doesn't level really well once again, so I'm just going to kind of level it off the best that I can. So there's 1/4. And 1/4 make 1/2. Now, if you have problems with fractions, Think of it in terms of money. 1/4 of a dollar is 25 cents. So therefore, if you want half of a dollar, you take 2 25 cents or 2 1/4 and you get a half. Same thing goes with 3/4. You can use the dollar figure and you want quarters, and you're going to just measure it out as if you were taking 25 cents and measuring it out for a dollar. Or for 3/4 of a cup, sorry. It's early. It's 6 a.m., so I'm not 100% awake yet. All right. I need a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla needs to be measured over a custard cup as well. So once I get it open, I'm going to take another custard cup. You either measure it over a custard cup or over the sink, never over your bowl. Otherwise you will overfill it, and then you will have too much and you will spill into your bowl. So I just measured into a second custard cup, put that off to the side, and now I have my vanilla. The last thing that I need is chocolate chips. So I'm going to grab those. I should have had them over here, I know, but I just went to the store at 5:30 to get the chocolate chips because I didn't think I had enough here. And I need a 1/2 cup. So I'm going to take my 1/2 cup measuring cup. I'm going to pour them in. Again, you can't use a leveler for chocolate chips, so you just kind of pour them until the cup is full. Now, looking at my recipe, I need a 1/2 cup of shortening, which is right there. I need 1/2 cup of brown sugar, right here. 1/2 cup of granulated sugar, there. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, we have it there. 1 egg. 1 cup of flour. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. 3/4 cup of oatmeal. 1/2 cup of coconut, and a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. This is what's called mise en place. Everything in its place. All my ingredients are ready, so I can start to cook. Now, my recipe tells me to preheat the oven to 375 degrees. I'm going to then cream the shortenings and sugars until smooth. To cream means to mix until smooth and the two ingredients are combined together. There's actually 3. My brown sugar, my shortening, and my white sugar. Now, to use the mixing bowl, or the big mixer, I don't know if I can show you this or not. We're going to try this. The first thing is you never plug it in until everything is ready. That's not good. So, on my mixer, on this side, there's a little lever, and that is what lets you unlock it so that you can lift it up. Then you're going to take the hook, and if you notice there is a notch in it. That matches up to the notch on your mixer shank. You just put it on there, match them up, and give it a turn to the right. That will lock it in place so that it does not come out. Okay? Now, the mixer is not plugged in. I'm going to do that now because now I have the beater on there, and I have the bowl ready to go. And I'm going to put my beater down. I'm going to lock it back in place so that it doesn't come up, and then I'm going to plug it in. You don't want to plug it in first because you don't want to have something happen where it accidentally gets turned on and then it's up in the air and it starts flying, or your hand's in the way and it gets caught. On the other side over here is the speed lever. So I'm going to just turn it on to a low what it says mix,